how does that relate to amateur golf? Are we just as good or bad as pros in that sense, or is hitting in the rough not as big of a deal?
I'm going to say something here, and you're probably going to go, this guy's nuts. Why did I bring him on this show? Amateurs are better from the rough than tour players are.
Wow.
And I don't necessarily mean the way I said that. I say that to kind of get people's attention. Amateurs have less of a difference from the rough compared to the fairway than tour pros do. So let's say an amateur is at 150 yards in the fairway versus 150 yards in the rough. It fluctuates a little bit depending on handicap, and it changes depending on how far away you are from the hole. But roughly, amateurs are about 1/10 of a shot different between fairway and rough from the same distance. And tour players, they're about 1/3 of a shot difference between the fairway and the rough. And it's not that tour pros are worse from the rough. And I know some people might be thinking they have longer rough. And
Right.
length of rough certainly plays a role in this, but it's not that tour pros are worse from the rough. It's that they're so much better from the fairway. Like when they can get the club on the ball, they can flight it how they want. They can control that trajectory. They can control spin. They know how it's going to react. And they benefit a lot from being able to hit a ball from a fairway lie. And us amateurs, we do not have the same benefit. So the reason our difference between fairway and rough for amateurs is smaller is because we're not as good from the fairway as they are. You know, there's some amateurs, depending on the course and the rough, there's some amateurs that are actually a little bit better from the rough than they are from the fairway because their low point control isn't exactly, at tour level. Right. And when you have a ball perched up a little bit on the rough, your low point control can be a little off compared to a tighter fairway lie where, you hit 1.5 inches behind a ball on a tighter fairway lie. That's going to have a different outcome than if you hit 1 inch behind on, in wispy-ish rough where the ball's perched up. And so sometimes people are better off in the rough than they are from the fairway for amateurs, depending on the swing and how they deliver the club.
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's another eye-opening stat. And again, this is all easy to track too when you have Arccos, so you can judge you can evaluate your performance in fairway versus the rough.
Yeah, you can take a look at all of that and see how you're performing, see where you're doing well, see where you're not doing well. But at the end of the day, for us amateurs, we simply want to keep it in play. Keeping the ball in play, advancing it a reasonable way there. Like if you typically hit a club 150 yards, making sure you're advancing the ball 85% of the way there. 90% of the way there would be ideal, but making solid contact. I don't necessarily care how much left or how much right it goes as long as it finishes in play, but just making solid contact, hitting it somewhere around the center of the face and making relatively solid contact through the bag is going to be your ticket to lowering your handicap and shooting better scores.
How important is it for amateur golfers to stay out of the sand?
We stink from the sand for the most part. Fairway bunkers are very problematic for us. There's a big penalty for us going in the fairway bunker. So that's something you need to definitely avoid. And I would even say, like, there's a lot of instances where would we like to be in the fairway? Yeah, we'd like to be in the fairway. But if there's no trouble and there's a bunker that's in play off of a tee shot, fairway bunker, have your target be well away from that bunker. We want to avoid that bunker at all costs because we just do not perform very well from there. And greenside bunkers as well. Like us amateurs, we are very poor from greenside bunkers. And I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure like the delta, you take the same distance from the bunker versus the same distance from the rough. It's anywhere from 1/4 to 1/3 of a shot harder from the bunker for most amateur players than it is from the rough. Obviously we want to be on the green as much as possible, but us amateurs, probably the sweet spot of your audience, avoiding the sand is going to make the game a lot easier for you. So avoid that however you can, as long as you're not bringing other trouble into play. Like if there's a bunker up the right side and there's OB down the left, like, reloading is way worse than being in that fairway bunker. So just make sure you're intelligently kind of thinking your way around the course and picking targets appropriately.